On August 21st, 2018, a cinematic trailer for The Sinking City was uploaded to YouTube by the development studio Frogwares. By the time I saw it, the release date was only a few months away, and I was so excited. A Lovecraftian horror game with detective elements, and it looks really cool? Hell, sign me up. So when it was finally launch day, I bought the digital version for PS4 and started playing it with a friend. And at first, it was a great time. Played for a few hours and then put it off while I was working. But when I came back to it alone, I started to notice some issues. I put the game down and never came back to it. Then in 2021, I tried to play it again. I made it to around the same spot and noticed far more issues than before. This bothered me. I wanted this game to be good. I wanted to pretend this game was way better than it was. I mean, did I really waste my money on another game that promised to scratch that eldritch itch? No, it's totally good. I'm just nitpicking. Yeah, that's it. I'm just being overly critical. I'm not letting myself enjoy the game. My stupid floating jelly brain will simply not allow me to just play the game and have a good time. I want to love this game. I want to praise this game, but I can't, because I would be lying. The only madness here is pretending that The Sinking City is a good game. Well, that and some other things. After an opening cutscene that reminds you that this is in fact a Lovecraft game, our hero Charles Reed arrives in the city of Oakmont. Oakmont has become plagued with 6 months of storms, insanity, and strange creatures emerging from the flooded streets of the city. Due to these mysterious events, the climate in Oakmont has changed dramatically. The currency has shifted from money to bullets, which makes bullets pretty hard to come by. The citizens and visitors alike have become trapped in Oakmont. Between monsters, visions of the end, tensions between races, and no escape from the city in sight, madness has rooted itself in Oakmont. This is the Sinking City. It's a city full of people just trying to survive a cursed shadow that looms over them, and also racism. Racism is commonplace in the city as well, but it's not well done. It feels weird saying that, and I want to note, I'm not advocating for racism, but if you're going to put it in your game, then don't undermine the actual struggle with one character hating that race and then him being right the majority of the time for suspecting that race. I don't know what message you're trying to send here, but it's not a good look. And hey, maybe that's a strange take. Maybe I'm looking too close at it. But it was hard not to notice this, and it's just so poorly done. So these guys are Innsmouthers from Innsmouth. Yes, that Innsmouth exactly. So this game's story canonically takes place after Shadow over Innsmouth. The Innsmouthers are refugees after Innsmouth got burned to the ground by the government, and everyone hates them. This guy hates them the most, I think. He never actually has a solid point as to why he hates them. He seems to believe because his father fucked a gorilla that his genes are superior to even normal people. But he never expresses a hate or superiority complex towards normal people, just the Innsmouthers. And it's more of a cartoonish hate than anything. The game warns of racism because of the time this game takes place in, but real racism isn't presented here. It's a cartoonish and stupid version of it. Anyway, this city is, technically a city. It's big. I mean, look at the map, it's huge. And it feels huge, but in all the wrong ways. See, the majority of the city is procedurally generated, which means the world automatically generates random buildings and NPCs from set assets. Any landmarks, quest-giving NPCs, and buildings you can go inside are set and never change. So the majority of the city is just copy and paste assets you can't interact with. There's nothing wrong with making a world this way, but it just doesn't work all that great here. This is because even though there are plenty of side quests along with the main quest, there isn't enough when compared to the size of Oakmont. And since there really isn't much to interact with, you are mainly running as quick as you can from point A to point B. Not to mention, running around the city can be annoying. There are multiple parts of the city that are underwater, so you have to use a boat to get through these areas. You can't swim because leeches eat you or something? I actually don't remember what happens there. This would be kind of neat if controlling the boat wasn't so wonky. The boat drifts harder than and get stuck on seemingly everything. There are also infested areas, which I'll explain later in the video. Oakmont doesn't feel like a real city with real problems. You know it has problems because the narrative tells you it has problems. And because, things like this happen.
So long, and thanks for all the fisk.
The game is full of glitches like this, where one of the NPCs didn't spawn and was supposed to interact with this one, so the whole scripted event just messed up. But because I just happened upon it, it kind of adds to the whole atmosphere. It was just so bizarre, it really did immerse me in a second. Am I going crazy? Is the city making me go crazy? There are scripted events of NPCs interacting with each other, but there are only like 3, and you see them so many times that after a while, you'd rather just see them pop into existence and go about their lives. Their lives mainly consisting of walking around aimlessly and doing nothing else. But Oakmont doesn't at any point feel like a real city, like a living and breathing world. Now, to be fair, there are plenty of games that have copy and paste NPCs with scripted animations and aimless walk cycles. Witcher 3, for example, also does this. The difference is, The Witcher has a world to explore and NPCs change slightly depending on where you are. But there are plenty of things between being in towns and seeing these NPCs. It doesn't feel as bad because you aren't spending the entire game in one city. There is a world out there and you get to see it. And while the NPCs are copy and paste, the enemies have variation. Sure, you'll fight the same monsters and guards sometimes, but not the same 4 or 5 enemy types over and over and over. If I had to pick one word to describe Oakmont, it would be empty. And it feels like the developers knew this. While running around, you could discover fast travel points, these phone booths. And I use the word discover loosely. The second you are around one, it automatically pops up on your HUD's compass, so you immediately know where to go to unlock it. And the range is crazy. You do not need to be close at all. It just pops up to ensure you cannot miss it. Fast traveling takes out so much of the running around, it's not even funny. And each section of the city has multiple fast travel points, so you can always be fairly close to a quest you've marked on your map. Now, assuming the developers added fast travel because they knew their world is boring is pure speculation. Most likely, the reason fast travel points exist here is because, well, open world games have them. I'm not against fast travel. Having the option is fine. But in The Sinking City, it isn't really an option, it's kind of a better way to play the game. I think a lot of these problems could be fixed with one change. Make Oakmont smaller. There's no point in having an open world when there's no reason or desire to explore it. Making the world smaller would allow care and focus to be put into the environments left. You can make Oakmont feel like a real city. You can watch the people react to everything around them getting worse. You'd be able to tell when you are the wealthier part of the city and when you are in the poorest part of the city. The environment can tell the story and immerse you into the madness gripping Oakmont, taking the lives and minds of its citizens. You could keep the open world aspects because now, with the city feeling more alive, the player will actually want to explore it. Big open world games are fun. I love them. But for this game, it's just bad. The city honestly feels so much larger than it is because it feels like it's taking forever to get anywhere, because nothing is happening while I'm going through it. Big doesn't mean good. Oakmont, the sinking city, proves that. I feel like I've been mostly negative so far, which isn't without reason, but I think I'll start this off with some positives first. So, good old Charlie is a war vet and a private investigator. He also has psychic detecting powers, which is pretty handy being a detective and all. Throughout the game, you'll collect evidence, examine crime scenes, and come to conclusions based on everything you have observed. I actually love this. Like, for example, the son of a prominent business gorilla has gone missing. After examining the scene, picking up this locket opens up Reed's ability to see past events and determine the order in which these events happen. It becomes obvious that the missing son infected the residents of this shack with madness as soon as he, levitated and chanted in an unknown ancient language. You then follow the shadow ghost visions that only Reed can see to track the son to a warehouse where you find his corpse and this annoying hand beast. I'll be talking about these eldritch hand glitches soon enough. You find another clue where the body is and follow it to this bar that's not too far away. Based on the note you found, the bartender can be persuaded to give you the room key where the suspect is held up. Then you confront him, and you get to hear his side of the story. Afterwards, you go into your mind palace and use the evidence you've collected to make a decision. Was it because of the madness, or was this a cold-blooded murder? I decided, yeah, it's a murder, because unlike the others, Lewis doesn't seem to have any of the side effects from the madness, and he concealed the body. That seems far more deliberate to me. I report my findings to the father, and case closed. I like this stuff. I'm a sucker for detective games and stories. The detective aspects of the games do get more in-depth as well. There are archives in Oakmont for different kinds of information: hospital, police station, newspaper, asylum, and the university. Each location has different information that can be useful for different cases. Another example, on this case, I have a name, I have a crime that he has committed in a certain area, and a time frame. So going to the police station, I can... Did you see that? Weird. I could have sworn someone was just standing there. Must be the ye old madness getting to me. Anyway, at the police station, I could go through old files and use the clues I have to find an address. Well, kinda. There are no real addresses, just details on where the locations are. So, his residence is in northern Salvation Harbor, west of the intersection of Moreland Road and Salvation Road. Based on that information, I open up my map, find what I believe is his address, set a waypoint, and then go find it. I love it. This is great. I'm not going to be solving any cold cases or anything, but it does feel like you're doing some actual detective work here. It's satisfying solving a case by looking at clues, using those clues to find information that lines up, and then tracking down suspects without a waypoint telling you what to do and where to go. And when I say I love this, I mean I really love this. As simple as it seems, it could get pretty tricky later on. Feels like I'm putting the work in, and it just feels good. This is my favorite thing about the game. And I want to be clear, this isn't just because everything around it kinda actually sucks. I would love this just as much in a better game. Speaking of things that suck, combat. It's okay, I guess. It's not great. There is a crafting system, so you can make more bullets, which is good because enemies can be bullet sponges, not to mention you are definitely going to miss your shots. It's actually a better strategy to just wail on enemies with a shovel. At least, it works really well with the small hand creatures. The monsters you encounter can hit pretty hard, and you can get swarmed by those hand creatures pretty easy. But the AI is stupid, so what I normally do is just run outside, wait for them to open the door, and then hit them with the shovel. If tougher creatures come out, I shoot those. That's how 90% of my combat encounters have gone. Sometimes you fight people, but one shot to the head ends that pretty quick. Oh yeah, remember those infested areas I mentioned earlier? Well, these are areas that have a lot of monsters. It would be quicker to get to your objective by going through them, but there are more creatures here, and tougher ones too. A risk-reward type of thing, yeah? No. Just run through it. That's it. If there was an infested area in my way, I just ran through it, and every time I did, I never once took damage. Really, I don't understand why these exist, but it does show how blah combat really is. If you can avoid it and run, it's the optimal thing to do. Maybe this was by design? The survival game style of conserving your bullets, since they are hard to come by, would explain why combat can be avoided in that way. But it's not intense to avoid combat, it's optimal. In a game like Resident Evil, running from combat to conserve ammo is tense, and it's not the optimal way to play. Killing monsters makes running around and solving puzzles far easier. But, due to the low amount of ammo you receive, you can't just mow down every zombie or lizard you see. You have to pick your battles. You can craft more ammunition, but some of those materials can be used for other items, so you have to be smart about it. The same can't be said for the Sinking City. Throughout a lot of my playthrough, I had the max amount of crafting materials, health kits, chill-out drugs, and ammunition, because I avoided all combat, except for when it's close quarters in a building. So by the time I actually have to fight, I can blow all my ammo because guess what? I can make plenty more and not worry about not having materials for later. I can find plenty more before I need to fight again. Crafting materials are infinite, so I will never at any point need to worry about running out of anything. The mechanics of the game feel like they are fighting each other. In the same way that the open world mechanics contradict each other, the same can be said for combat. It feels like they want combat to have tension. Ammo is scarce, but you can always craft more. And you can always get more materials, because those materials will respawn. So remember that case of the missing son? Well, in that shack, there are a couple places you can get materials. I looted those spots several times just while solving that single case, and during that case, I only have to fight one monster. It feels like they want survival horror aspects, but it just doesn't work when you can and always will be able to blow the enemies away with no problems. But there's something I haven't mentioned yet. A mechanic that's tied to both combat and Reed's abilities. A mechanic that's pointless, but absolutely necessary, because this is a Lovecraftian game. The sanity meter is nothing new to video games. It's been done time and time again. Was that a monster? Because I better fucking end it all. See ya, chumps. Have fun drowning while hand monsters do the bad touch. And I'm not saying every single Lovecraftian horror game has it, but more often than not, it's there. Before I say anything else, I have nothing against this mechanic. I like it. There have been games that do it very well. I love it when I'm not even sure if something happened. Was there a shadow? Did I actually see something? Or am I just freaking myself out? That's a great time, and I love it to death. The Sinking City has it. It's right there. It's that blue bar right there. And you know what? Doesn't even matter. It is just there because of course it is. It's a Lovecraftian game. So, how does it work? Well, our war vet P.I. Reed goes fucking wacko mode anytime he sees anything. A dead body? Well, here's a lab coat guy with no eyes walking around in your head. Hand creatures? Oh no, that's Reed. Looks like he hung himself. Spooky. A dead child's soul that was trapped in a mirror has been returned to his long decomposed corpse, and now the screams of this impossible thing can be heard from within its small coffin while it scratches at the wooden interior, trying to free itself into our world? Okay, yeah, you know what, that one checks out. That's actually one of the rare moments in this game where something truly unsettling happens, and you do feel something. To be completely honest, I got goosebumps at this part of the game. It's one of the only good side quests, and one of the only times it feels, well, Lovecraftian. So, does the sanity meter actually impact anything? Well, no. Not really. You see the same couple hallucinations, and Reed will try to peace out, but stop himself before going through with it. If it gets really low, or to 0, you'll see shadow people praying and shadow monsters that could do damage to you. But even if that happens, you have items to instantly restore your sanity, and even if you don't, it doesn't actually affect you all that much. And losing sanity over most of these things kinda doesn't make sense? Okay, I'll defend a couple. Reed's abilities are gifted from eldritch beings beyond understanding, and being a war vet seeing corpses might be triggering trauma obtained from the war. But the monsters are treated as a normality by everyone in the city. So why is Reed losing his mind every time he sees the easily killable thing he has seen dozens of times and that no one else cares about? They're kind of treated like mountain lions. You're warned that they are dangerous and people are surprised you survive the encounter, but as long as you stay away from their turf, you're gonna be fine. These creatures aren't near as dangerous as actual mountain lions, but you never once feel like they're anything more than strange sea creatures. Overall, the sanity meter has no real impact to the game. It is there because it's supposed to be there. I mean, how can you have a Lovecraftian horror game without it? Maybe you can, I don't know, make an actual fucking game? Now, I'm not going to go into Lovecraft himself or all the times he did a racist. Spoiler alert, it was a lot. Instead, let's focus on the genre. I think too many people get caught up in the whole tentacle monsters make your brain go funny, but not in a funny haha way. Yes, the madness and squid things are a big part of it, but not the focus. The unknown is the true horror. The fear and dread that comes with slowly learning what lurks in the infinite universe. I mean, look at humans, yeah? The majority of humanity believes that they are truly the most important thing in the universe. Well, now imagine you discover not only is your species not important, but you are completely insignificant. Humanity does not matter, has never mattered. Your existence can and will be ended in an instant. How fragile you truly are. Your reality and world being on the brink of destruction caused by a being that didn't even know you existed. Dread and fear of the unknown turning into the horror of what you now know, driving you to madness for being unable to comprehend your existence in this new reality. The focus is you, humanity. Cthulhu is a squid guy, yeah, we get it, but there are other stories where the antagonist is discovery itself. Not a monster or cult, but knowledge obtained either on purpose or by stumbling into it that wipes away all you thought you knew and replaces it with the horror of what you now know. The Sinking City checks some boxes, I guess. You got a Cthulhu and everything. That's all you need, right? The Sinking City is a game that takes place in the world of Lovecraft, and yet feels the need to constantly reference his stories to remind you that this is, indeed, a Lovecraft. Opening cutscene tentacle madness, vision madness, underwater breathing madness, our hero looking for his madness medicine because there's just so much madness going on. Oh god, his madness meter is off the charts! Instead of just focusing on what Lovecraftian horror is, they focus on referencing what Lovecraftian horror has already done. There are only so many times I can ooh and ah at your Easter eggs. Oh wow, is that a reference to yes? Yes it is. I don't care. Stop throwing these in my face and make something compelling. The mirror side quest I talked about earlier is actually a pretty good representation of this genre. It starts off simple: retrieve a stolen mirror. The plot thickens with murder and an escaped patient from an asylum, evolving into a dead child's soul trapped in the mirror and a mother mad with grief seeking to bring her child back into this world. It's short, sweet, unsettling, and really good. I actually wish this side quest didn't exist because it shows A, that there is a clear understanding of this genre, and B, that instead of stuff like this, we got the Sinking City. It's a shame too. The couple times this game nails it, it really nails it. And then there's the rest of the game. This will be a quick summary of the main plot. There are spoilers, so if you want to avoid them, go ahead and skip ahead to this point in the video. So Charles Reed has a dream and then wakes up in Oakmont. He's been brought here by a Johannes Vanderberg. He did some research and found that the visions in Oakmont are the same as Reed's. So Reed has come to Oakmont to find answers. Johannes meets you as soon as you arrive, and isn't that a suspicious amount of yellow he's wearing? Great observation, Charles. Glad we're on the same page here. Business gorilla I mentioned before, Robert Throgmorton, has been researching the recent plague of visions that you also have, which turns into solving the case of his missing son. After Reed solves that case, he passes out. I mean, solving crimes is pretty exhausting, so I get it. Albert was a member of the expedition that went to an underwater cave that Robert believes is connected to everything strange going on. Turns out, yep, totally is. You find the expedition team alive, but insane. You also find a neat little Cthulhu statue, and I'm pretty sure that's Dagon down there. I want to take a second to talk about how much I love this part of the game. It's short, but it feels great. Maybe because it's one of the few times you aren't in the city, maybe it's the atmosphere, I don't know, but this just feels great. I would have liked it a little bit more if Cthulhu was hidden away instead of you needing to take a photo of it before you could progress, but I still like it. Also, Happy Bunny Man, he just tickles me. After Reed returns from the cave to report his findings, he passes out again. Okay, to be fair, he did return to the surface pretty quick, so I'm gonna give him a pass on this one. Anyway, you find evidence of a group called the EOD being involved. Now, why does that sound familiar? You then report your findings to the allergic to fish gorilla. See, that's a joke, because he's racist against fish people. Do you get it? You then set off to find the whereabouts of the expedition lead, Professor Harriet Doe, figuring saving her will probably give you some answers. I would go into how the story progresses play by play, but it would be tedious and boring, and I don't want to. Reed solves a poisoned fish case and passes out again. You should probably see a doctor about that, man. Like, that can't be healthy. You get in good with the EOD, but not really because they try to kill you. You help Fred. That's Fred. Hello. Get out of Oakmont, and he says, oh yeah, this dude Evernote Blackwood might know what's up. Oh neat, let's go to his office, except the literal KKK fucked up the place and kidnapped Blackwood. Except not, you find him in another underwater cave, and then he gives you exposition. Reed and Doe are the chosen few, or the seeds. Basically, they are chosen to end the world or save it. Mostly end it. The flood and everything is the beginning of the Eldritch Apocalypse. Doe is super down to die for the cosmic cause. Reed isn't so sure about it, so he tries to bail with the seal and passes out again. Okay, you clearly have a serious medical condition, Reed. Like, come on, man, you need to get some help. He then wakes up strapped to a hospital bed, because someone's taking my advice, with Johannes letting him know, hey, by the way, Doe is dead, Blackwood has the seal, you should probably do something about that. So, Reed does something about that. Blackwood says, hey man, let me take your place as the chosen. Reed says, sure. Blackwood dies. Another oopsie in the books, I guess. Oh shit, Johannes is dead too? Nah, I'm just kidding. He only faked his death so he could run things from the shadows, which is what he was doing anyway, so yeah. Alright, sure. He tells Reed that he has to go into Cathogonar? Which is a palace underneath the city of Oakmont. He has to go there to unleash Cthulhu into the waking world so that she can give birth to a reincarnated Cthulhu who is also her dad. Yeah, don't think about it too much. So Reed goes into Cathogonar, and then there's 3 endings you could choose. I chose You Don't Belong in This World, in which Reed kills himself so you could buy humanity another century or so before the cycle begins again. The other 2 endings are End the World or Run Away to Boston, and if you run away to Boston, the flood just follows you. And that's The Sinking City. I actually don't have too many problems with the plot. It's fine, I guess. It's pulling from a few Lovecraft stories. Not sure why Hoster would be helping out Cthulhu and all, but I guess there are stories where it is engaged to Cthulhu. I think my biggest issue is that the choices you make or conclusions you come to don't actually matter. The story will progress the same no matter what, and you'll still choose from these 3 endings. Sinking City, again, isn't the only game to do that, but it still sucks either way. I won't complain that all the endings are hopeless and bleak, because that's kind of the point. I didn't expect a happy ending. But I do feel that instead of choosing the endings, you get an ending depending on the choices you have been making. Pull a Silent Hill 2 and have Reed choose to unleash Cthulhu if you let him have low sanity for most of the game. You know, something like that. Overall, the story isn't the worst. It shares the same problems as everything else I've talked about. 1 or 2 changes would have made it a lot better. The Sinking City is a game I want to love. A game I tried to love. I just can't. I don't believe there is such thing as a perfect game, but I do believe a game can be so good that you can ignore things like reusing NPCs or wonky controls. Also, quick side note, the police station? It's haunted. Who are these people? Where do they go? Where do those stairs go? This is the first time I saw it happen, and I was genuinely confused and maybe a little creeped out. Every time I went into the police station, I would look for it. Sometimes it wouldn't happen, and then just when I thought it was never going to happen again, there it was. Another being disappearing into a different plane of existence. No, but really, this actually kind of kept me on my toes, and a stupid glitch actually creeped me out more than the game itself. I think it's hilarious. The Sinking City is always fighting itself. There are things I love about the game. The atmosphere at times is fantastic. Solving cases and reaching conclusions based on your interpretation of the evidence is really good. Even if the overall story isn't really impacted by it at all, it's still satisfying and fun. I even ignore the glitches because, let's be honest, glitches are funny. I never once had a game-breaking glitch, and in some bizarre, unintentional way, they actually managed to spook me a little. Do I hate The Sinking City? No. It's not a terrible game. There was so much potential here, and it's just wasted. An empty city, a useless sanity meter, boring combat, and not enough variation of anything to make this world feel alive. But it's those rare moments where the atmosphere is great, where something truly horrible is happening, when the walls of reality crumble and it's done really well. It's those moments where The Sinking City is a great game. Those moments kept me going. I wanted to find the next one, wanted to experience the next one, and that at some point it'll all come together and force me to ignore the bad. But that never happened. The Sinking City is not a bad game. It's just a disappointing one. There we go. There we go. There we go. I've never played a game before where I'm like completely surrounded and I'm not even like a little bit scared. Like, not at all, actually. Let me just... Okay. There you go. Oh shit, I'm actually about to die. Wow, that's like almost never happened. Oh shit. Oh. Oh, didn't even stay on that screen very long. We're just right back to loading. Okay. Oh, that was fun. Alright.